court's aware the parties have a daughter age 15. She's in high school in the Andover school. She has to get ready for school by herself and go out and wait for the bus. After school, the child's still at home by herself. So we don't think that should be appropriate.
Shouldn't be any reason why she can't, at 15, stay at home by herself. Mr. Mantla, it's your motion, so you may proceed with the hearing at this time.
May it please the court, the first legal issue is custody and parenting time. As the court's aware, the parties have a daughter, Nara, age 15. She's in high school in the Andover School District. She doesn't have any siblings that are minors anymore, so she's basically at home by herself if one of the parents isn't there.
All right, guys, here's where it gets heated. Mom's attorney argues she needs primary custody for the summer because she doesn't work during those months. On the surface, it sounds reasonable, but legally, the court has to weigh whether childcare needs outweigh the father's right to equal time. What do you think? Should a teenager really need full-time supervision just because it's summer?
Which is going to be an issue we're going to talk about. And the current ex parte order is shared residency with a 2-5 schedule. So every other weekend for each parent, and then each parent has 2 designated weeknights every week. And we're asking for the court to modify the ex parte temporary order so that dad has parenting time every other weekend from Friday at 5:30 to Sunday at 8 p.m. and then 1 weeknight per week from 5:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And there's a couple issues. I think the biggest issues coming up is summer. So child's not she's in high school. She doesn't have she's going to be at home during the summer. And my client is a cook in the Andover School District, and so she's not going to work this summer. So she needs to have primary residency this summer. We're asking for the whole year, but I mean, certainly this summer. And that's how it's historically been the last several years. 5 years ago, they were in San Antonio, and my client was a stay-at-home mom. And so we have that exhibit in our notebook. Let's see if I can find it here.
So since she's been in Andover, does she, I don't know what kind of work she would do during the summer unless there was some summer school as a cook, but is she ordinarily always off during the summer?
Yes, yeah. So when they were in San Antonio, I'll just give a history here. They moved to Wichita. It'll be 2 years ago this July. And so before that, they were in San Antonio, and she was a stay-at-home mom. And then when they moved here 2 years ago, she continued that. And then it was just 2 months. And so 2 months into last year, she took this job as a cook. And so she's historically been a stay-at-home mom, hasn't worked in the summer, and the child's 15. So she needs someone to watch her. She doesn't drive yet. So she still needs, a parent overseeing her during the summer. She doesn't have anybody in the house with her. So she'd just be by herself if both parents are working. She can't just be, we don't think she should be at home by herself without any siblings or something to do. So the plan is my client always watches her during the summer. That's historically how it's worked. And that's why in that exhibit, we have that VA.
This is the turning point. The lawyer brings up panic attacks, feminine care emergencies, and even dinner struggles to argue the daughter can't be left alone. Notice how the narrative shifts from logistics to emotional needs, because courts prioritize a child's mental well-being. But here's the big question, at 15, is this genuine concern or overprotection?
It's that documentation from the Exhibit L is in Larry. And this was when they're in San Antonio. It's a representation by petitioner that the respondent provides child care free of charge. And so that's kind of just to show the court the history here. That's what's been going on. And, there's been issues not only, with this during the school year now, there's been issues with the child texting mom while at dad's house and asking for her to get her stuff. And so that's another issue here. And I'm going to talk about that.
Let me ask before we go any further, what is your client's educational background?
Do you have any college?
No.
So have you graduated high school?
Yeah.
She's graduated high school, but she doesn't have any college education.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So, there's issues before school and after school with the current order under dad's time because dad has to go to work at 5:30 a.m. And so the child is just at home by herself. She has to get ready for school by herself and go out and wait for the bus. And, we're going to talk about, she has a history of having panic attacks, and she's at home by herself. So she really needs to have a parent there with her she needs that emotional support to get her, a good start to the day. And then after school, dad will often go to the gym, and then the child's at home. And so she's texting mom I think there was one instance where she has to get feminine care products, and we've got in our exhibits photos of mom driving to the marital residence. That's Exhibit J. So the first one is on February 7th, and that's at 3:46 p.m. And there's a house with a blue car, and that's a marital residence. And so mom is just documenting, hey, dad's not here, and I'm driving to the house because the child's asking for something. And that's a Friday. And so she asked for feminine care products that day. The next photo is on March 3rd at 5:46 p.m. And so dad drives a pickup truck, and it's not in the driveway, and that's where he parks it. And so my client's documenting that he's not at home. And so Monday, March 3rd, that's the next photo at 5:46 p.m. On Mondays, mom drops off the child's luggage bag because she drives the school bus to school. She can't take her clothes and all that in a bag. So she's been dropping it off on Mondays. And so she's just documenting that the child's at home by herself without dad, and the child's there to meet her at the door, obviously, that type of thing. The next one, it says today on there. That was taken on March 24th. That's at 3:25 p.m. Mom's dropping off luggage. And then my client says dad was still at work at 6 p.m. So there's issues where after school, the child's still at home by herself. So we don't think that should be appropriate. My client's documented that there's been multiple days in January when the first order was first started that dad was home late, and the child's having to figure out what to do for dinner. She doesn't know what to eat for dinner. On the 21st, we have a text message in our exhibits where dad says, Exhibit K, dad says, hey, you can pick up Nara, but please be sure to bring her home by 9 o'clock. That was his day for parenting time, but he had to work late. And my client had to actually drive to the military base and get his sergeant involved to make this happen because she was so worried about her being home all evening by herself. So that's really the issue here is
there shouldn't be any reason why she can't at 15 stay at home by herself. Although at 15, I don't think it's the wisest thing for a child to be home a lot by themselves and not their activities be supervised. And I don't know, they didn't seem to indicate they were aware of these anxiety, fear issues, but I would imagine the breakup of her parents have certainly caused her some angst, and that a counselor can hopefully help with that. But I mean, we're not going to get a situation. I agree. If he's swinging shifts, first, second, third, and he's not there in the morning, and he's not there when she gets home, and nobody's supervising her phone activities or computer activities or who's at the house and that kind of thing, that's problematic. But to suggest that a parent needs to be with her all the time at 15 years of age is impractical and, I think, unnecessary. I mean, the part of their goal is to start getting this child ready for independent living. But I can understand that this is quite an adjustment for her. But what is the concern about extended periods of time and the child either not being able to cope, being alone, or it lends itself to her not being properly supervised?
Boom, major legal moment right here. The judge steps in and makes counseling mandatory. This is key because instead of relying only on the parent's claims, the court now wants an independent professional to evaluate the child's mental health. That move removes the he said, she said element and brings objective evidence into play. Smart or overreach?
I think just from talking to my client that they have a close relationship and she feels isolated. I mean, she's feeling isolated if she's at home by herself and doesn't have friends come over or siblings. I think it's an isolation thing and it's just not mentally healthy. So I think she's texting my client to come. I think there was one instance she brought her McDonald's. I mean, she's obviously looking for that someone to interact with, and it's not. It's her emotional. I guess it's that factor under the statute. It's her emotional needs that aren't being met. If you wake up and you're responsible for getting yourself ready for the day, and you're 15, you have to go out to a bus, and then, I mean, kids need more emotional support than I think that at that age than what she's getting under the current circumstance. So it's really the emotional needs. My client's proposal is going to meet her emotional needs better.
Okay.
Exhibit I, we've got a photo of an unsecured firearm. We've got their exhibits. It's now it's now secured. It's great. Want the court to be aware, though, that it was probably our motion that caused that. So there's evidence, obviously, that wasn't the case, and so that's obviously a concern.
Can you tell me who the therapist is that she's seeing?
So what I understand is my client started her to see scheduled for her to see a therapist, and then the petitioner sent a message saying, "Hey, I wasn't invited," and my client thought she was going to get in trouble for scheduling it without him. So it's my understanding it never really took off.
Okay. Well, that irrespective of the parenting time, that's going to be a requirement of the court. I cannot take one parent's word as to the mental state of the child over another. And so I need somebody for her to talk to, but somebody objective to advise the court the issues that she's struggling with and the concerns that.
Now the drama shifts to money. Mom says she needs $2,400 combined in child support and maintenance just to survive, while dad insists his expenses are already maxed out. Notice how quickly the case pivots from parenting to finances, because in family court, custody battles and money fights are always intertwined. Be honest. Do you think $1,600 rent plus extras is reasonable here?
The therapist may have for her. And that's just helpful in these kinds of situations to have an independent third party that hopefully is a advocate for the child and can provide the court with some insight as well.
Okay.
All right.
Moving on to the next legal issue, spousal maintenance. The court's aware my client works 32.5 hours a week, earning $13.77 an hour. The ex parte order kicked her out of their marital residence, their house. And so the ex parte spousal maintenance right now is $1,000 a month. Ex parte child support's $83 a month. So she's getting $1,083 a month plus her income from her employment. It's just simply not enough to live in a reasonable accommodations. So we are asking for spousal maintenance to be increased. I looked at Dad's original domestic relations affidavit, and I think there were some errors. He filed an amended one, but I figured his ability to pay maintenance and child support was $2,405 per month, based upon his original domestic relations affidavit. He's since filed an amended one. He states that the mortgage is increased for the rental in San Antonio, and he has more expenses that he forgot to claim in his first affidavit. So he represents his ability to pay child support and spousal maintenance is $2,020 a month in his amended domestic relations affidavit.
And by ability to pay, it's what you believe is left over.
That's what I
pay everything that's left over.
That's what I'm reading.